Okay. So, am I the altitude? Am I the altitude for confronting my boyfriend after he left me to take a jump seat alone while he chased a better seat for himself? Okay, buckle in. My partner, a 40-year-old male, and I, a 37-year-old female, recently flew long haul using his brother's British Airways staff travel perks. He's crew. And my dad is ex-British Airlines too, but his travel slot was in use. So we flew under my boyfriend's deal. Well, the outbound morning flight was great. We both got upgraded to business, but the return overnight flight was overbooked. So, as standby passengers, we were 5th and 6th in priority for just 4 seats. Well, I had to be back to work with no work from home flexibility, so I was really anxious. His brother and my dad put in a word with the crew and the captain, and we were told we might get jump seats, like crew seats. They're not ideal, but they're better than nothing. Virgin might also have been an option via like a reciprocal deal, but only for family of crew, not companions. So only he was eligible. Well, to improve our odds, he bought a Virgin standby ticket, £128. Our original returns were £418. So it seemed fair at the time. Well, on the day, loads still looked tight, but we went to the airport. The British Airways desk told us to come back in an hour, and he went to check Virgin while I stayed. Well, shortly after, I was told we were both confirmed for jump seats, and I found him and suggested we wait there to see if there were no shows and we might get proper seats. Well, he felt the Virgin desk was pressuring him to decide, and they mentioned a possible first class spot. And he checked in with them. Well, minutes later, British Airways gave me a business class seat. When he returned and told them he checked in with Virgin, they told him he would have had a business class seat too if he'd waited. He was devastated. I was upset, not just for him, but because it felt like he was willing to leave me alone to take a jump seat on a 9-hour night flight while he aimed for a better deal. When I got home, I said, you know what? You were happy to leave me on a jump seat when you thought you might get first class. And he said, well, it didn't make sense for both of us to be uncomfortable, and insisted he made the best call with the info that he had. But I told him to wait. I told him there was still time. The Virgin desk hadn't closed, and it felt like he panicked or prioritized his own comfort over mine. He ended up in Virgin economy middle seat by the toilet with crying kids. Well, I flew business, but I cried most of the way. My friend said, you know what? Serves him right. Enjoy your flatbed. And my mom misunderstood at first and thought he was helping me. But when I explained, she was horrified, and she said things like, don't have kids with this man. And remember this. You know, she can be dramatic, but it hit a nerve. He's now reclaimed part of his BA fare, the £175, so the Virgin ticket barely cost him more. Am I at the altitude for still feeling hurt and angry that he didn't wait and was ready to leave me in a far worse position when he gambled on a better one for himself? Or was he justified because he paid extra and thought he was helping our situation? Okay, so like I have so many thoughts on this because like at first, like, okay, I can kind of see where he's coming from. like logically, like, okay, he, it's only for the direct family members, so she wouldn't have qualified for that. I do know that panic when you're at the airport and like you're going to lose something and we're all scared of losing something and there's that pressure. And so, I've panicked when I've gone to the airport. I've been like, there's just something about that puts you a little bit in like this anxiety mode. And I have flown, standby before. So, I get it. There's like, you take the best deal that you can get and you try and find the other stuff. And, nobody wants to like, sit in a jump seat for that long. It's so uncomfortable. Or, you want to get the best option. And, if the option is for like both of you to be wrecked versus one of you to like get a good night's sleep and, be comfortable. And so you can be the one to like, handle the next part of the journey and like, make the decisions and be, you were refreshed because, you didn't just sit for 9 hours in a jump seat. I get that logically. However, I'm going to give all my points to mom in this situation. She is brilliant. She is smart. She is straight up right. Mom, yeah, do not have kids with this man. This man is thinking about his own comfort. He is straight up logical about that. I get the logic and the things, but like you are, you want to have, if she's looking to have kids with somebody, and she's 37. So, and he's 40, you probably have to decide pretty quick. This is not a guy that you want to have kids with. No, he is going to think about his comfort. He's going to think about that stuff first. No, this is not somebody, the empathy there. You're not, there's no empathy there. Like, there's no, like, we're in this together. What's going to happen when, say they go have a similar situation and it's her with like a kid or two. And, is he going to go off and find himself the best thing? I mean, I've seen so many of those flights where you see this mom, like, with multiple kids hanging all over her and dad's just like blissfully asleep next to them or just off in like another section of the plane and she's just dealing with the insanity. Like, not to like hate on all dads because there are some good ones out there, but like, do not have kids with this man. Your mother is right. Straight up. Oh my God. Like, I'm not saying that, he made a bad decision. You get to have some feelings about that. You get to feel how you need to feel. I'm just saying that when, I get it. You can be anxious and you're trying to make the best decision in the airport and there's a lot of stuff. But when push came to shove, he chose himself. And it wasn't like you guys were going and like having to go out and do a bunch of other things. You were going home. And so, yeah, when you're in the trenches and you're thinking have kids, this is not the man to have kids with. Nope. But if it's just the two of you, but also if you, don't have kids and, it's so complicated because it's like, I get that you want one of you to be awake and alert and be able to take, the reins for the next part of it. And you both shouldn't have to be wrecked. But damn, like chivalry. Come on, man. You guys should both be in it together. Like, come on. Think about your lady here. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I mean, I could be the altitude here. So, you guys let me know. You let me know what you think. Does anybody else agree with me or am I just totally off base here?